Hey, welcome back. It's Rakai Steed again with stories that you may have already heard, but here's the rest of the story. So, last week, as I was talking about the story of traveling to Egypt with my dad, I realized a couple things. I've been telling that story for years. I mean, literally, for probably 20 plus years. The whole time I was a school teacher and I was in a classroom, I was telling that story to my students. One, just to help them familiarize themselves and get used to the concept of, that there's other places in the world besides Newburgh and the West End. Two is that a common everyday person like me could travel and enjoy parts of the world and see myself, which hopefully I wanted my students to see themselves in other situations. I didn't want them to look in textbooks and be like, that's not someplace I would ever go. I wanted them to visualize and see themselves in Paris, France at the Eiffel Tower. I mean, even if they just make it to the one in Vegas, cool. But if you could actually make it to France, cool. But in telling a story about my dad, what I realized is that my discomfort with our relationship was not all bad. And actually, good note is it's on the men. We've talked recently and we're trying to put things back together, just be able to talk as father and son. And it's difficult because a lot of times where I was going with my story last week was that sometimes you have to forgive even when you can't forget. But I did have a lot of good memories about being with my dad. And another story, being with my dad, is since he was in the military, we moved every year, every other year. And one of the places I had the pleasure and privilege to live was in Germany. I lived in Germany for 4 years. For 2 years, 2 different times. So the first time that we were in Germany, I was still pretty young. I would say elementary, maybe fourth. I think like 4th or 5th grade was when I was there in elementary. Now my dad has always loved automobiles and he passed that on to me. I love automobiles too. But my dad's favorite automobile is the Corvette. And on this particular trip, he took his prized possession, a 1973 Corvette Stingray. It was brown. I think it was T-topped, or it might have had the convertible on it, but it was slick. Now, the thing that most people don't know is in Germany, there is no speed limit. On their highway called the Autobahn, there is no speed limit. And you can literally go as fast as you want, just out. And on an everyday basis, that's exactly what we saw, just people hauling tail out of there. And it was a joy to ride in his Corvette because his Corvette gave us the opportunity to be out of there. They said that 95% of all the accidents that happen on the Autobahn in Germany are from Americans who bring over their cars from America. So if you're in the country that makes Audis, Porsches, Mercedes, BMWs, Volkswagens, and a number of other vehicles that are made in countries close by, and if someone has their 1968 Ford pickup truck that can barely get 60, it could be a problem, especially if you know anything about, how road rage is here and people really don't follow the rules and they'll be all the way over in the left-hand lane, and they'll be doing 35 or 40 and like, I'm following the rules, and you just behind them like, get over to the slow lane. See, in Germany, everyone follows the rules of the road. It's important. So in Germany, one of the biggest rules of the road that everyone understands from day one that they get there is if you're in the fast lane, if you're all the way over to the left, and someone is behind you and they flash their lights at you, they flash their lights, That means for you to get over. I'm coming through. Everyone followed this rule, or everyone that I saw. So one day, me and my dad, because the Corvette's two-seater, so me and my dad were in the Corvette, and he looked in his rear view and he's like, "You got to be kidding me." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Someone just flashed their lights at me." Flash their lights at a Corvette? We're probably doing about 105 right now. I mean, we are pushing it. You can hear that American V8, V12 motor just under there, just growling. We are moving. We're passing all the cars. Somebody flashed the lights at him. So he was intrigued. And the thing about Germany on the Autobahn is at any time, you might see somebody pull by in a Ferrari, Porsche, this common, Lamborghini, Lotus, you name it. You might see, Aston Martin. You might see an exotic supercar pull up at any time. So yeah, you move over. I mean, Corvette's an American supercar, but in the ranks of supercar, it's, here, Ferraris and all that stuff is up here. So he pulled over into the middle lane. And about 5 seconds later, an elderly lady, or I'm not saying elderly because I was young, but she was much older. She looked older than my dad. She pulled up next to us. She looked over. We both looked over with that, that dumbfounded look on her face, like, huh? We pulled over and looked. She looked at us. She was like, "Oh, that's cute. Look at them in that little American car. Y'all are doing it. All right. Good for you." She waved. She was out. Like, she passed us from driving right next to us. She took off like we were standing still. And I was just, my dad was, his jaw hit the floor. Something that I was not accustomed to, like him being dumbfounded, not accustomed to that at all. And, in the words of Pastor Tim, I can hear, in his mind, this is what I thought. It's like, this woman has the unmitigated gall and audacity to pass us like we are sitting still. And so, of course, that rubbed off on me because I saw his jaw hit the floor, my jaw hit the floor, and I looked at him like, "Daddy, you gonna let her just do that to us? Get her, Daddy, get her." So my dad mashed the pedal, and we take off. And the car's growling, and it's growling, and we're trying to catch up, and now it's getting to the point where I can barely see her anymore on the highway. Where did she go? And he's moving, and we're moving faster and faster and faster, and then all of a sudden we hear this boom. It sounded like all of Thunder of Louisville fireworks went off inside the car. Huge explosion. The hood on the Corvette popped up, flew back, busted our entire windshield out, and flew off the car. Now, I don't know if y'all seen a Corvette. Corvette, especially the new ones, are carbon fiber, fiberglass. Like, I'm pretty sure that, if my son ran into a Corvette in his Power Wheels, it might total the car. It's a super fast car, but it's not made for safety, per se. It's made for aerodynamics and speed, but it, you run into it with an old beach cruiser bicycle, you might wreck that car. So, but this was an older Corvette. So it had some steel in it and it had some heft, but that weight, we're probably doing 125 miles an hour right now. An explosion just went off. I'm scared. I'm probably have messed up his little seat. Hey, I was in 4th or 5th grade, my bad. I knew that I was getting ready to visit St. Gabriel. I was, I'm in church. I should be good. Well, Daddy, you probably going the other direction. You going downstairs, or I'm going upstairs. I just knew that was our last day. And he did everything he could, like the car was weaving and bobbing all over the road. And somehow, whole point of my story, somehow he was able to pull the car over on the side of the road We didn't get hit by another vehicle. The car didn't flip over, which I already knew that was going to be like a movie style flip over 18 times and then do another flip. One of us should have flown out of the front window of the car. None of that happened. As a young man, I don't know about my driver, but I knew that my co-pilot in that car, who was really driving the car, not my dad, was Jesus, because he had his hand on me. And I've always thought that, I've always known that I had things to do, that he wasn't through with me yet. And I just, and I'm not judging my dad. I don't know what his deal is or who he talks to, but I just know that, as far as I'm concerned, in my house, I was like, ooh, his escalator's gonna go down. He need to get right. And the thing is, in my older age now, I'm still striving to get right. But it was from that moment and other moments that I didn't so much remember, but my mom has told me about, that I knew that God has had his hand on my life. And I've done a lot of stupid stuff. Some of my own will and volition, and some, riding with an absolutely insane person like my dad. But I am glad that I am here today, and glad to say that God has looked out for me. And hopefully, he's looking out for you too. If you haven't gotten your life right, and I hope by you watching this show, you're pretty much on the path of getting your life right, but get your life right. Anyway, that's my little story for today. I'll be back next week. I got a bunch of these little crazy little stories. I've had a weird, storied little life. But like I said, story time with Rakai. I'll be back next week. Peace.
But like I said, I don't have any children of my own. Never did have any children. Never been married either. But I did have the opportunity. I was engaged. I was engaged to a good man. Real good man. His name was Ellington Wadsworth. Ellington, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Ellington was a good man. He loved the Lord too. He loved the Lord. He sure did. But before we could get married, I guess the Lord saw fit to kind of transition him. Lord went ahead and took him. He didn't have no long sickness or nothing like that. It was nothing like that. Now he did have sugar. He did have sugar, but it wasn't the sugar. It wasn't the sugar diabetes that took him out of here. He was in a car accident. He got hit by a Mack truck. So he went really quick. And it wasn't just a regular semi. It was an actual McDonald's truck. It was. Yeah, I was told it was a great big old thing. It had the word McDonald's on it, and it actually had a picture of a hamburger that's on the side of the truck. Sure did. Ellington, he sure did love some hamburgers. He sure did. He loved a Big Mac. He really did love his Big Mac. He loved the Big Mac, and he really loved large fries, and and he loved a large ice cold Coca-Cola. He sure did. And every now and again, sometimes I guess he'd get one of those fried pies too, but not the way that you think. I mean, he didn't want one of them that was sitting out under the lights for a long time. He wanted one of them that pies that actually came hot from the grease. Same thing with the fries. He liked his fries hot from the grease. And sometimes, I guess every now and again, he'd like a large vanilla shake too. A large vanilla shake, yep. He sure did. Absolutely loved it. Now, I would tell him, that stuff's not good for your sugar. I said, you don't need to be eating that stuff. So he tried, he took his medication, did what he was supposed to do, but every now and again, I guess it just got the best of him. He just needed one of those Big Mac combos, along with the hot fries and the shake, and the ice cold Coca-Cola. But like I said, it wasn't the Big Mac that killed him. It was a Big Mac truck. Oh well, anyway. But today I just want to share a few things that are on my heart, and I want to use the contents of my purse in order to do it. Let's see what all I got in here. I got all kinds of things. I sure did. You know, now I'm thinking about it. I actually have scripture that I want to share with you from John 15. John 15. You know, Jesus made it a point and said, Jesus said, I am the vine and you are the branches. My Father is the husbandman. So, it's my power pack. We got to stay connected to the vine. Because if we pulled it apart, and we're not connected to the vine, we got connected to the power source, then we gonna be weak. We not gonna have no power. And all of our phones are gonna go dead. Well, you know what I mean. Let's see, what else I got in here? So that's the card and the charger. And let's see, what else I got in here? See, the whole reason why we need to be connected to the vine is just so we could actually, let's see, where is that in here? All kinds of stuff.